there are some Frayer models. And the Frayer model is an excellent classroom activity for lots of different things. I've used it with kind of bigger terms that I want to know what my kids already know about them. And these particular templates are super cool. They're from adlit.org, and that's right in the corner is that website. And you can download them and then change whatever you need to for your particular topic. So what I'm going to have you do right now as a partner, or partners, you can do it as a table if you would like. I want you to fill out a Frayer model for each of the text types. Okay? So for the Frayer model, you'll have argument in the center. What is argument? So you'll list that in the box that says is. What is not argument? Listing that in the box there. Then what are some examples of arguments? And what are non-examples? Something that is not an example of an argument. Okay? So I want you to do that for all three text types with your partner or your whole group.
That's what I struggle with, is how are we going to define argument? You know, how do we make a difference? Okay, they said arguments are used for many purposes: to change the reader's point of view, to bring about some action on the reader's part, to ask the reader to accept the writer's explanation of evaluation of a concept, issue, or problem. An argument is a reasoned, logical way of demonstrating that the writer's position, belief, or conclusion is valid. So it's a reasoned, logical way of demonstrating the writer's position, belief, or conclusion is valid. Writer's valid position,
They use the word.
yes.
What you want to do with your group is look through that Appendix A and the definitions that they're using for the text types and talk about how your definitions are challenged, affirmed, maybe revised even, how you feel about these categories for writing, what opportunities do they provide for students and your instruction, and one idea that comes up in your conversation that you can share with the whole group. So these are the questions I'd like you to focus on, kind of debriefing, looking at the definitions in the Appendix A compared to what you came up with. An aha moment, or something that stood out to you as you were looking at your definitions compared to Appendix A.
Okay, so we really liked that there's a very simple distinction between argument and informational explanatory that we hadn't quite hit on. We were kind of dancing around it. Argument, they made it very clear in one word, is meant to persuade. And informational writing is meant to clarify. And I thought that was like, aha.
Okay.
Got it.
Any responses to that? I know the persuasion/argument discussion comes up often, and we're going to do something during lunch if you can kind of suspend that for a little bit. That might help clarify those distinctions.
I don't think that it was absolute, that correlation between the two. I don't think it's absolute. But it was, we were trying to find a very simple way to make a distinction between the two, because sometimes kids, especially sixth graders, can't really figure it out clearly.
I think as adults we have a hard time distinguishing, and the next thing that we're going to do is really going to illustrate that. But let's have a little bit more feedback about this process before we get there. Yes, right there.
I felt like the argument was really hard to pull out because I guess the argument is everything kind of stuck with me a little bit. And I think even narratives, if they write a narrative, they might be furthering some kind of goal or some kind of message. And so I feel like underlining is there. But I really liked how this kind of had some firm definitions that we should go with. But I think that if we were looking at actual text, I think it would be a little harder to say this don't.
I would argue it's nigh impossible, not just harder. Other feedback? Yes.
I think in our table, we sort of came to the conclusion that at the basic level, different texts we can define and put into boxes, but as you study them at a deeper level, they sort of like blend together and we can't distinguish one from the other.
Any other feedback? How about your table, Chris? Anything you guys?
We talked about how, for instance, a narrative can also be an argument, but it's structured differently. So you change the structure, or that within argument, you can use narratives as evidence or to get your reader invested. So those were things that they intermingled.
Okay, again, perfect segue into what we're going to do next.